Portland has a civic leadership program. If you want to talk about cities that do a lot to train people after they've been elected to public office, of course we do orientations and things like that here. If you look to Great Britain, they do a lot of training. Now this program actually, again, gets people interested in the idea of running in the first place and gives you information on that. But it also trains people once they've already been elected. I just thought this was funny because it's a little reading list they give to people who are elected to a particular borough council outside of London. And two of the books, How to Say No and Paul McKenna's Hypnotic Secrets. So if our city council members start reading the Hypnotic Secrets, maybe we better watch out. Building community capital. Again, we do a lot of this, and it's important to think about it in terms of how it's both instrumental to another end, but an end in and of itself. Keep San Antonio Beautiful has an important mission, but it's also important because it gets people together, it gets people talking about things. The city offers a toolbox for neighborhoods. Now, one of the things we talked about was homeowners associations, neighborhood associations. The city helps those groups to do what they need to do to build community capital, to increase their membership. Neighborhood Resource Center helps a lot in that respect as well. Green Spaces Alliance has sponsored the wonderful Community Gardens program. Again, it's an end in and of itself because we have a lot more gardens as a result of it, a lot more green spaces, but it does something else too. It gets people out there talking to each other in the community, and that's important for other reasons. Again, in other cities, lots of things going on. More organized citywide regional efforts towards this. So San Francisco State University, this is yours, Sheldon, the Institute for Civic and Community Engagement. The Coalition for Youth in the city of Hampton, Virginia. Again, really trying to get youth involved in civic projects. Again, we do this. We have lots of projects in our city, but I don't know that we have something exactly equivalent to that. Volunteering. When you go to our city website to volunteer, there's not a lot of opportunities. There's the library website. Parks and Recreation does a lot. I tried this the other day. I called some city agencies and said I wanted to volunteer, and they were very nice, but they basically said, well, you need to either go with the library or the Parks Department. Other cities have a little bit more activity with getting people to volunteer. The City of New York has a wonderful volunteer website, and you just get to choose. Do I want to help New York City veterans? Do I want to help with green initiatives? And you can actually sign up online. They tell you what location of the city it's in, so you can choose topic, location, times that work for you. Louisville, Kentucky, again, right on the front page of their website is their volunteer center. Redwood City's Neighborhood Liaison program. I believe that our city has a neighborhood liaison program, but the neighborhood liaison is a city employee. In this city, the neighborhood liaison is a citizen who lives in the neighborhood. And they are the person who the city kind of charges with communicating important things that are going on in the city, getting their neighbors to go out, go to city council meetings, whatever it is. Moving then to government accountability and transparency. This is a tough one to tackle. And we've tried to think about some ways to structure this. Okay, I'll get to that in a second, because here we're going to get to structure again for a minute, because government accountability is a huge topic. What does it mean? Does it mean government's doing what's right? Does it mean government's doing what we want them to do? They're not even the same thing. But basically, when we talk about government accountability, we're talking about a government that is responsible, that is responsive. Now, again, we talk about structure and how it impacts that. Does it matter if we have term limits or not? Does government become more responsive when you have term limits versus not having term limits? There's some evidence on these kinds of things. It's not quite as clear as with voter turnout because it's so hard to define what we mean by government accountability. So I just wanted to make sure, the little Civics 101 here, that we knew some of the structural features of our city. Salary. If you compare San Antonio to other major Texas cities, salary jumps out, or it doesn't jump out, rather. The red line for council member pay in San Antonio you can't see because they get paid $20, or is it $25 now? $20 a meeting. The mayor gets $20 a meeting plus $6,000. It's very different in other cities. Dallas, Houston, Austin, all paying salaries. Now, again, we're not completely sure what that means, but there are people who believe that that's an important structural piece. In order to have more accountability, maybe we need to do that. Term limits, we just went from two-year terms to 4 two-year terms. And so we're roughly in line with other Texas cities. They all seem to have something like that. Again, that's just getting started, so we don't know what the impact's going to be yet on various outcomes. Also wanted to be clear, to get back to the structural issue, that we have a council-manager form of government in San Antonio. So there are certain things, as great as our mayor is, that our mayor can't do in San Antonio. Our city manager is our chief administrative officer. Again, this is something that came in from the progressive era. People were not happy with the complete politicization of municipal government and thought that maybe cities should be run by non-elected professional experts. And that's what we have in our city. The progressives could not have hoped for anybody better than Cheryl Scully. She is one of the most highly regarded city managers in the nation. One of the reasons I know that, there's lots of reasons in our city to know that, but as somebody who teaches in public administration programs, our city's management intern program is one of the most competitive programs like that in the entire country. Really talented students who graduate from MPA and other programs throughout the nation compete to be chosen for our city's institute. And there's one of our web pages where the city manager does communicate a lot of the achievements that we have made. Compare this to Houston, has the strong mayor form of government. This is where the mayor has much more responsibility as far as the administration generally has more powers. It almost always goes with partisan voting, but not always. Kevin Johnson, who went from the NBA to being the mayor of Sacramento, wishes they had a strong mayor form of government, because they don't, and he is unhappy with going to too many ribbon cuttings in Sacramento. He wants to change the system. The city manager's not real thrilled about that. And keep in mind that in Hermosa Beach, California, and lots of cities across America, citizens don't even get to vote for their mayor. They vote for city council members, and the council members then select the mayor from amongst their ranks. They also generally tend to be run by a city manager. So we are somewhere in the middle with the council manager form of government. Really interesting thing I just put here in structure. This is a movement that we're starting to see in some cities, the citizens' jury process. It is like the juries you're familiar with. You get called in for jury duty. It's more of a random call. It's not just the typical people who might want to volunteer. You get the notice, you show up for jury duty. You're paid a small amount, but you're given a public policy issue to work on. It's different from a regular jury because you get to decide who the expert witnesses are. So if you are asked to evaluate your city's municipal waste system, they did this in Montana, you get to say, well, okay, we want to hear from this person and this person. You bring them in, you have a couple of days of the trial, and then the citizen jury makes their decision. This has been used to make a recommendation to inform city councils in some cities. In some cities, it's actually used as the final decision. In some cities, it's used to make a recommendation to voters on a particular ballot measure. But again, this is just anybody in the city can get called in for this, so it's a really random draw of people. Open government is, again, getting to be a little bit of a buzzword, open government, open information, but cities, again, remember that first chart, talking more about collaboration with citizens on a systematic basis. Salt Lake City's doing a lot with an open government initiative to figure out how to make citizens part of the decision-making process institutionally. So it's just built into the system. So they're kind of doing what we're doing in Salt Lake City. They're a little farther along in the process, and their scope is not as wide as with SA 2020, but they're doing interesting things there. America Speaks, also a really interesting one, where they go in and completely engage the citizenry in making a public policy decision. When New York City was working on the plans for what would go on the site of the World Trade Center, they basically had the plans finished and had America Speaks bring in some citizens to talk about the plan. Thought it would be kind of, the typical thing where you put it out there, the citizens say, well, we'd like to change this or that, and maybe they make some changes. Well, that's not what happened here. The citizens were so unhappy with the plan that was presented that they had to go completely back to the drawing board. And just for some reason, what they thought the citizens would have wanted there was not what the citizens wanted at all. But if it hadn't been for this process, they wouldn't have known this. We have a copy of that report in there too. The Atlanta STAT program, as you can see, there are a number of cities are now going on to this particular format for making the annual report online. So again, getting a lot more information out to people than we previously had. People aren't always going to go to government. If you go down to city council, normally the people who are there for a particular case of interest to them. And that's why they're there. Maybe they speak, maybe they watch, but you don't see a lot of people just say, except for me, because I'm strange, just, hey, I'm going to go watch city council today. Do any of you ever do that? Okay, a couple, which is great. And maybe people are watching from home, but you have to bring government to where people are, and where people are is on the internet. So there's some really innovative ideas going on. Again, this kind of thing, Louisville, Kentucky, every city probably does this. They try to give truthful answers and explanations, quality customer service, but just innovative because the city of Louisville has actually posted this on their website as an actual Citizens' Bill of Rights. Government Trailblazer program, again, we have a lot of projects here. What these people do is they use marketing techniques, again, to bring in people to get a sense of what people really want and then to shape policies accordingly. Some projects in Brazil, which are moving towards citizen budgetary councils, where the citizens actually make the final decisions on all budget matters. Now, not necessarily saying this is something we could do here, but just to give you an idea of just across the world, there is much more of a movement to incorporating citizens in. This one you can't read because it's in Armenian, but I wanted to show you that even in Armenia, they're doing a lot with citizen councils, trying to empower people, especially in terms of environmental issues, and giving people the information they need, giving them the power to make some decisions. And this brings us then to websites, not just because websites are kind of neat, but because that's where we get a lot of our information. This is our homepage, and lots of basic good information here. There's nothing wrong with it. In fact, the Sunshine Review, which reviews all cities' websites, said there was nothing wrong with it. That we had the requisite good things, everything you have to have, we have, basic contact information, things like that. See, there's nothing under the bad. Stimulus funds is not under the bad, that's a different category. And we got a grade of B, but we didn't make the top 50. We are not one of the top 50 in terms of most transparent city websites. Of course, we have our non-public blogs, Plaza de Armas. But just some other examples of what some other cities are doing. New York City has great transparency. You can find all kinds of statistics on their website. You can look in your neighborhood and find things like the percentage of acceptable streets compared to other boroughs. You can get to even lower level than this. It's not just by borough. You can actually go to your street and find out how you compare to other parts of the city. And not very hard to do. I thought this was an interesting one. Top 10 opportunities for redevelopment in downtown Atlanta, right there on the website. So if that's something the city wants to do, just putting it out there. Again, instead of waiting for people to come to you, go to them. Dallas has a really strong website in terms of giving people background materials. Not the most exciting or fun stuff in the world, but when they do council briefings, akin to our B sessions, every piece of information that is presented to council is available to the public on their website prior to that briefing. And I'll warn you, if you try and even get into, this is a problem, if you try and get into the Dallas website, it will slow your computer down for quite a while, but there is so much information there. Albuquerque, that was number 2 on the list of most transparent. And they, again, a lot of cities have things like this, but they have it right out in front. You want to look at the mayor's credit card statement in Albuquerque? It's right there online. It's not all that interesting. When you know it's going to be posted online, you don't do things like buy cases of liquor or something, obviously. But that's right out there. Palm Bay, Florida, you can quickly find the salaries for various people that work for the city. Open city halls is another trend on websites. To get on the internet and say to people, this is our pending topic, we want some information back from you on this. This is actually a city in New Zealand, which is a real leader in this movement, and they're talking about the consultations they have. Right now, the open consultation is on their draft annual plan, and you can get all the information you want, and you submit your information online, and they make this available to people. They tell you what's upcoming and what has already closed. Not always the most exciting stuff in the world, but important stuff, and this is their way to really target citizens and say, please tell us what you think about this. Manor, Texas, really interesting place outside of Dallas, all kinds of technological innovation. They go one step further. Instead of saying to people, this is our topic of the week, tell us what you think about it, they completely open it up to citizens and say, what policy issue do you think we should address, and how do you think we should address it? And they have this wonderful website where people post their ideas, and then citizens go in and actually buy stock in those ideas. So if you like the idea, you buy stock in it. And that is how they signal to their city officials which are the most popular. If you submit an idea and lots of people buy stock in it, you get prizes. Like you get to ride around with the sheriff for a whole day. So, you know, fun stuff. Decatur, Georgia, also an open city hall online. Fort Collins, same thing. Should electric-assisted bicycles, which I have no idea what those are, be allowed on the city's paved trails? I say no, but I don't really know. But again, just giving you the information you need. This is really getting people engaged, and who knows, maybe they'll be engaged in something else besides just electric bicycles. Louisville, again, just inviting people on the website itself to say, what do you like, what do you not like about our website? City of Boston, I love this one. You all go to public meetings, and you pretty much know which days and the location and everything, but sometimes you have to go look it up. So if you want to go to a planning commission, you have to go to that page, and you have to figure out when they're meeting this month and everything. City of Boston has all public meetings listed in a calendar. They tell you basically what they're going to be discussing, and the really neat thing is when you click on it, you can put it right on your Microsoft Outlook calendar and be reminded when it's time to go to the meeting. So I actually have a meeting of the Historic Review Commission of Boston on my calendar for next week, and I will get a reminder when that's, maybe I'll go. And then finally, just that you can have a little bit of fun with these. Commerce City, Colorado, their companion website is for Adams County, Colorado, the Gateway News Government, and they do it almost like a blog, and just showing that you actually can have fun with an issue as kind of yucky as whether to put a Walmart in the city or not. So this is actually on their county website.